Hello, everybody. We go again on Out of Your League. Hi, Mark Flanagan.
Hi, Will Perry.
How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
You look lovely.
Thanks.
Haven't seen you for a while.
Yeah, I know you've been away with your mum, haven't you?
Yeah, and your mum.
No, just your mum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been good. We survived an episode without you.
Yeah.
Kyle Amor came in. Great chemistry, great banter with Kyle and
Really?
Lachlan Coo. Yeah, it was a nice relief, actually.
It's not what you told me, but you've kind of joked in the past about, let's just get Kyle Amor on, but then you did get Kyle Amor.
You've joked that I'm easily replaceable.
Kyle's everywhere, isn't he? He's excellent, but he's everywhere, isn't he? He's like the sort of Claire Balding of rugby league.
Yeah. Isn't he? Yeah, he's everywhere.
He's on. What's he on? So does a bit of Sky, does a bit.
Would you say he's a media
free
whore
sports,
like John
DAZN?
Wilkin? Or
I wouldn't use the word whore, Mark, on this programme.
We've done it before.
Yeah.
He gets about a bit, let's say that.
Like a whore. But so how was it?
It was good.
Yeah.
One of the best I've ever done. Actually.
I heard you tried to do a very sort of, I'd say Will Perry style intro, and Carl took it very seriously. Just moved it on quickly, didn't he?
Yeah, we all. Yeah, it was just a really good show all around.
Yeah. Do you see yourself as the main host of this podcast going forward?
No, I'm fine. Just standing in the background.
Yeah. Were you nervous? Were you feel like
No.
being the main guy?
No, I don't get nervous.
But well done,
Thank you.
And I'm surprised you've done one episode because I've been away for 9 weeks and you've done one.
Yeah, I don't think they trust me to do another one. I thought it did okay.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. Let's bank it.
Yeah.
Let's bring the expert back.
Yeah. Hi, Matty Smith.
How are we doing? Okay.
Very good. That was a good
Matty
job,
Smith, mate.
What's mate about?
People from St Helens say mate,
Yeah.
as in mate.
Over-exaggerate the mate.
Yeah.
So you missed Matty Smith in his 2 Saints spells, didn't you? You were sort of
I
you were a
did.
Matty Smith sandwich, but he didn't eat you.
No, he didn't. Yes, but we've played together a few times. And did you play for England Knights in 2012?
I did.
Against Ireland. We
Yeah,
played
good
together.
memory,
Yeah.
yeah.
He's got one more England Knights appearance than
Yeah,
you,
he
Mark.
does, yeah. I'm still hanging on to that one appearance.
What is? Are you proud of the England Knights days, Matty?
I think I was one of the oldest ever England Knights players.
I think I was about 24, 23.
Yeah, I think I was probably roughly this age. Yeah, but yeah, no, I like playing for the England Knights. It was good. It was like obviously the start of your kind of England journey. So
we ridicule
yeah,
Mark
we had
for
some
his
good
one.
times.
We ridicule him for his one
Yeah,
appearance.
because you've had a glittering international career, haven't you?
I know, but
Yeah.
well, it's better than if you're not going to play for England, you're going to play for England Knights. But Matty did play for England 4 times as
Yeah,
well.
he did. He's better than me.
So yeah. Anyway,
My opposite halfback in the 2014 grand final as well.
is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
I got
right?
the better of him on that occasion.
I do remember watching
Was
that
it you and
game.
John Turner? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Halfback.
No, it was me and Lance O'Hire, then he got
Matty had
knocked
to
the
pull.
fuck out.
Oh,
So
he
it was me and Wello.
He did.
Did Matty
Well,
pull
look
you
at that.
away from going at Ben Flower?
No, I
after
was
Enzo?
like a man possessed. I wanted to fight
Yeah.
everybody.
You were in the opposite
Yeah.
end of the
no,
field.
No, I
then.
was like a rabid dog.
So Matty's with us today not only because Matty Smith had a great career in Super League, Mark, and played for about 65 clubs, including Sheffield, that you were talking
Sheffield
about before.
Eagles.
You missed that. How many times did you play for Sheffield, Matty?
Just the one.
Just the one.
Just
the one.
appearance.
Yeah, that was.
Was it a
enough.
loan spell? No, it wasn't even
it was
a loan
a
spell.
dual reds. We were dual reds with Sheffield then that year, and went there for one game.
So all the Eagles fans buying shirts with Smith on the back, and then he turns out once.
Yeah, well, he was going to Toronto the week after. I didn't fancy that trip, so yeah, I didn't end up going back. But yeah, I enjoyed that one experience. It was quite good.
Then you went to Catalan, then you went to Warrington, then you went to Widnes. Before that, Saints, Widnes, Crusaders, Salford again, Wigan, Saints. You've been about, Matty, haven't you?
I have.
So
Quite a few loans.
The only
though.
the Yorkshire clubs I've probably not played for. York and Lee. Lee's
Yeah.
the club at this side of the M62. But yeah, I've been about, but enjoyed every single one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
good time.
And look, we're not just here to talk about your career, but obviously, sort of time-wise, you've got a big weekend ahead of you, haven't you?
Yeah, exciting. Obviously for the girls to play at Wembley, for me to go back as well as a coach. Yeah, great week. So we're looking forward to it.
Saints taking on Leeds. You're, of course, the Saints coach, and we should point out as well, you're working with the men as well these days.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm in with Wello in the day with the men, which I'm really enjoying. You know, that's
Jobs for the boys. It's just like
That's it, yeah. Best mates get a role. So, but no, I'm enjoying that. That's only been for the last couple of months, but learning loads off him, and in Talbot and Laurent, and great coaches there. So being in with them is great for me, and then I get the opportunity to head coach the girls, and learning loads from that. That's challenging at times, but they've been great as well. So yeah, it's first year of coaching, but yeah, one I'm really enjoying.
And Hull KR taking on Lee Leopards on the same day as well. How important is that, Mark? Do you think for the women to go out there and play on that same pitch? I mean, that should have happened years ago, shouldn't it, at Wembley?
It should, but it's good to see that the game's making giant strides in bringing the women's game on an even keel to the men, and putting the match on the same stage is brilliant, and I'm sure the women will do it justice. And I think actually it's probably the most eagerly anticipated Challenge Cup finals for a long time. With there'll be a new name on the cup of recent times with Rovers and Lee, and the women's game as well. So it should be a great day.
Yeah. And you've got obviously great experience, Matty, which they can tap into. You won the Lance Todd Trophy 2013. Mark, you've been to a Challenge Cup final as well. Lost by a point, didn't you?
Lost by a point,
By a point. That's got to hurt, Mark.
Still does actually, yeah. Yeah, it was during the COVID era, so it was an empty stadium, which, you dream of playing at Wembley in a full house, and it was, you could hear crickets during that match. But yeah, lost to Leeds, and it still stings a little bit.
What are your memories, Matty, of that day, 2013?
Yeah, only good. Obviously, it went for me on that day, and I remember waking up that morning and it was raining, and I thought, it suits me down to the ground. I'll just kick the ball there, and so it suited me that day, and I can't believe it's actually 10 years. 10 years. 2013, I got to experience that, and I've been saying to the girls this week, it's probably, when I look back on my career now, it's probably the best thing I did. I got the chance to play in Australia from country and all that, but I think to get the chance to play at Wembley is what you dream of as a kid, and so it was probably, like I say, it was probably right up there with one of the highlights in my career.
Is it special, Wembley, you two, because you don't get to go there often? It's like you could be one of the best players in Super League and maybe never get to a Challenge Cup final and play at Wembley.
It's a tradition that does it for me. I grew up watching the Challenge Cup finals, and seeing the superstars of yesteryear, Ellery Hanleys, Martin Offiah. There's an endless list, and it's just the fact it's on BBC Saturday afternoon. It's a highlight in the sporting calendar in this country, and to take our game down to the nation's capital, it's just everything that comes along with it, really.
Let's get stuck into Matty Smith, Mark, shall
let's
we?
get stuck
Do you
into
want to describe to the listeners who aren't viewers, Mark, what he looks like, what he's wearing?
Well, he's wearing his Saints tracksuit.
Yeah.
And he looks very smart.
Very on point, that, isn't it?
Very smart.
Is that for us, Matty, or have you been to one before?
I've been at a press conference today, so that's why I'm in the Saints gear, but I'd usually come more casual.
If you're at training, usually, and you're wearing any item of club clothing, lads would be set into you, wouldn't they? Saying if you got a promo.
Well, I usually wear my wet waterproof everywhere.
Do you?
I don't know if you remember that. Obviously, we missed playing together, but that's what they call it now. They call it the Smeegs, like the waterproof. Yeah. So I'm not known for obviously playing. I'm known for wearing a waterproof, which is disappointing.
He's got a very sort of finely chiselled haircut, Mark, isn't he?
Nice haircut. He's got a good hairline. The best hairline on here, I think, including yours.
Yeah.
He's looking a bit tanned.
Is that your hairline, Matty?
It is.
You haven't been to Turkey or anywhere recently?
No, it's all me.
Hasn't done a Luke
Going
Gale.
a bit grey at the sides, but
that's fine.
Not
36,
too bad.
That's a bit early, isn't it? And sort of, I'd say grade 2 there, Mark, stubble on him.
Yeah, a little bit of stubble.
Yeah.
Looks well. Bit of a tan, I think.
Yeah.
Been away.
On the bed.
Maybe blood pressure. Blood pressure.
It's just intelligent son. That
the greys and the blood pressure is coaching, isn't it?
Do you worry about that, Matty? We're going to get onto the coaching later.
I've been stressed this year.
Are you already more stressed than you ever were as a player?
Definitely.
Really?
Yeah. Because I think you're in control a little bit more as a player, especially when it comes to that game day, where, as a coach, obviously it's taken out your hands as soon as that whistle goes. So I've been stressed a few times, but yeah, to be fair, the girls are quite good, and we've won more than we've lost. So it's going well.
And big one to look forward to. And we'll do more on the Challenge Cup a little bit later. But let's go right back to early days for you. So I'm just thinking, I'm what, 4? So you're born like 80.
You're just going to say you're 40.
80. Well, I am nearly 40. Yeah. So you're late 80. 87. Okay.
Yeah.
So for those listening to this podcast who have never been to St Helens, describe the place for us. What was it like when you were growing up there as a kid?
I grew up actually just down the road from the old stadium, Nosey Road. So I spent kind of my childhood going up there, jumping over the fence, trying to get in, watching Saints. So yeah, my childhood was all about rugby, really. Even though
should the club recoup that money that you should have paid?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
How much do you need?
Dock his wages.
Back then as well, they used to just let you in at half time for free.
Did
they? Yeah. So we just
whereabouts in Saints? Windle Island, around there.
Where the old stadium, Nosey Road. Eccleston. So it's just outside Eccleston. Yeah.
Eccleston's posh, St Helens.
Is it?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Posher.
it's posh.
posher than
posher.
parts of it.
And then you do those bunny ears.
Yeah,
Posh.
inverted commas they are.
Yeah.
There's posh parts of Eccleston and rough parts of
Oh,
Eccleston
right.
as well.
But this is what I love about these stories. Is how many people have we interviewed, Mark, on this very lovely green sofa that we're on now, and other sofas we've used over the years, that talk about growing up in the shadows of a stadium, whether it's in the NRL and they eventually go and play for that club. There's something very romantic about that. I mean, you didn't do that because you were born with a silver spoon up your arse.
I wasn't.
You're from posh Oldham, aren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Saddleworth. No.
Early years I wasn't.
But
no.
do you know what I mean? You get
Yeah,
where
well,
I'm
I
going
think
with
you're
this.
inspired constantly by your surroundings, and if you're walking past people going to a stadium and watching your heroes on a match day, it's going to have an effect on you. I think if you're as close to it, it probably reminds you more and more that that's what you want to do, and that's the tangible goal for you from a young age. Yeah.
Mm. Was it? I mean, look, I know you played football, which I'm really interested about talking to you in a second. But from being from St Helens, it must have been in your blood. Talk to us about the family, mum, dad, brothers, sisters. What was the setup like?
Yeah, well, we grew up watching the game. Obviously, living right next to the stadium, being from St Helens, you brought up with rugby league. For me, it was a little bit different. I enjoyed football as a kid. I played football. I didn't really play rugby, to be honest with you.
So football was the first love, even though you were in the shadows of Knowlesley Road.
Yeah, but I used to always go to games, though. I used to like rugby league. It was just that football, I was probably better at football, to be honest, at that point. And so I always just play football. But we'd go up, me, my dad, my brother. We'd always go to the home games, and grew up, watching rugby league.
So go on, football. Were you an Everton fan as a kid?
Yeah. I never went to games, but I was a fan from afar. Like,
Not a Liverpool fan. Can we confirm that? You weren't a Liverpool supporter?
No. I was kind of, my granddad supported Everton, my dad and my older brother, so I was kind of forced to support Everton.
Well, I supported Everton as a kid, didn't he?
I thought he was a City fan. Well,
Until City started
with
winning.
Everton.
switch when Guardiola came, didn't he?
Correct.
Yeah.
just wanted to clear that up. Bit of a tangent.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not here to defend himself as
Correct.
well.
Yeah.
So go on. So what age are we talking here playing football? When did you realise you had something with a football at your feet?
Yeah, I think from a young age. So from 5, I went down to my local side. And I was always, I could always kick a ball like that, and probably made me rugby my career on that, kicking a ball really. And so I could always kick a ball, and I was always good. I was always good at football, and then I got signed for Wigan Athletic as a young kid. I think I was 7 or 8. Went down there. There wasn't no contracts back then, so you was just kind of training at that age. But I played for them for 5 or 6 years, and that's alongside obviously playing for my community club, which was Pilks as well. Just did that for that period of time, and then I got signed for Everton at 12, and I played for them for three years.
That made
until
the
15,
family
until
proud,
they started paying you, and that's when they got rid of me.
Oh, so you
They
weren't
must have seen something in you to sign you from Wigan.
Well, they had to at the time because I was on Wigan Athletics books. They couldn't just offer me a trial; they had to sign me. But I was playing for St Helens Town as well. That's where the scouts come and pick me up from.
What position?
I played up front at that point, but for Everton, I played everywhere apart from left back and in the goal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And obviously at Everton, you came across some superstar names. So am I imagining you and Wayne Rooney playing up front together in the academy?
Yeah, we did it a couple of times. Yeah.
Wow.
Played against him. So our age group, he was a year older than me, Wayne Rooney, and we used to play against them quite a lot on a Saturday morning. But there was times where they mixed the sides, and I played with him a couple of times as well. And yeah, from that early age, he was obviously, you couldn't have said back then that he was going to go on and do what he did, but you knew there was something special about him, and that he was going to make a living out of it for sure. Yeah.
Was it always going to be Smith or Rooney for David Moyes? Was that a tough choice for him?
Yeah, not too much, but yeah.
Did you see that in him straight away in Rooney? Just an exceptional talent.
I think everyone did. Yeah, I think everyone did. I think we mentioned off camera that when you talk to academy lads and young lads about this is how the first team do it. This is how they were saying this. Do it a bit like Wayne, and Wayne's only a year older than me.
And how old would he have been at that time?
He was 16.
Yeah.
I was 15. Yeah, 12. So a year older than me. So
and he made his debut at 16 against David Seaman, who remembers that goal at Highbury. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So he was just a freak talent. He was always going to do what he did, and you don't get many people like that come around at once, do you? They're like, generations of that type of play, they don't come around. So
he gets a lot of bad press. Obviously, he's done a lot of weird things over the time, but he does, I think, get. I mean, I've had a chat with him. Mark, you've got mutual friends with him as well. Like he's one of these guys who, when you actually, and you'll know more than all of us, Matty, but like, you know, you have a chat with him for like half an hour. It's like you realise how, like, just how, I know it sounds a stupid thing to say, but how passionate he is about the game, because he doesn't need to be now, does it? Like, he doesn't owe football anything. He could go and do what he wants to do. He's still obsessed and determined to make a coach of himself, and he's obviously been out in Washington. But give us like a bit of an insight into his personality.
We're just doing an hour on Wayne Rooney, are we?
Yeah, I think it's well, we haven't done now, Mark. We've done.
To be fair, I don't know him that well. Like I played with him a couple of times on Saturday morning. I don't like.
Calm down. It's not a football podcast.
But back then, what was he? What was he like as a kid? Because
he was confident. Obviously, he was a confident kid. He got told on a regular basis how good he was, but he knew how good he was. Yeah. So he didn't probably need anyone telling him that. He was just natural. He just went out to play the game and enjoy. He'd probably play exactly the same on a field on a Sunday morning. Yeah. You know, playing for whoever. He just wanted to play football. Yeah. I think Rooney, and you know, he did it for a living. He did it well, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
he did it right.
Yeah, he was. He was.
Big rugby league.
He was a freak, really.
Is he?
He likes rugby league. He's been to a few grand finals, hasn't he? I think.
Yeah. Has he got a team?
I think he has.
He's a Leeds fan, yeah.
Is he a Leeds fan?
Yeah.
A bit strange, really, but
Sam Tompkins, a few of the lads had a picture with him at Old Trafford after a grand final.
Yeah. Could you slide into Wayne's DMs these days? Would he be like? Would he remember you?
I'll be honest. I don't think he'd remember me.
So, was it disappointment in the end in terms of your football career? Or, was that something that you must have thought 15, 16, I'm here now, I'm playing with some sort of superstars in the academy?
Yeah.
How was it broken to you?
It was disappointing. I think at that period of time as well, like when you're 15, you're going through quite a lot anyway, aren't you? Your body's changing a little bit, and you know, it's one of them. Was when I got released. Obviously, I supported Everton. It was really disappointing. It was tough to take, and I could have gone on trial at a few different clubs: Tranmere, Preston, Liverpool. You know, I could have gone on trial there, but I just probably fell out of love with it a little bit, and that's when I turned to playing rugby league.
Is that the point you started playing rugby league, or you'd already done a bit beforehand?
No, I played at school rugby, but I never played for a club. So yeah, at that point when I got released, I went back to my local amateur side, played a little bit of football that year, but I played rugby alongside it. I played on the same day, so I played football in the morning, rugby in the afternoon, and then the year after they clashed, so I had to pick one. And I was just enjoying rugby.
And that was 15, was it?
That was 15.
But yeah, that's quite unique. I think to pick up a sport pretty much from scratch.
Because you'd been playing from what age? Like regularly from what age?
Yeah, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
But to pick up a sport from scratch at 15, 16, and then to go on to have the career that Matty's had is unbelievable. But also the position he's played, because there's a position that needs more knowledge, more skill than any other, and to pick that up in what was your debut? 18, 19?
Yes, I was 18.
Yeah, in 3 years to play professionally for one of the biggest clubs. That's quite astounding, to be honest.
I was quite lucky as well. I mean, we that year I kind of taking rugby serious. We got trials for town, and you know, you've been obviously involved in the town sides. The kind of 80% of them teams are already picked before you even go to the trial, aren't they? And they probably pick up a couple that trial really well. And I was one that actually went to the trial, and everything went right for me. So I got on the scholarship then, and you know, so I had a bit of luck as well. I was in then, and then signed.
Were you always quick as a kid?
I was quicker than probably I was back end of my career. I was quick as a young kid.
Used to flow as you started.
Yeah, as you put more weight on us, as you know.
Have you?
Over the years. You slow down a little bit.
So around that time then, sort of 2003 until you made your debut in 2006, those 3 years, who were you alongside in that Saints Academy? People that went on to make it as well. What was that like in that environment coming from, you know, Finch Farm?
Yeah, I was lucky, to be fair. I mean, I come through great coaches, obviously, you know, Robes, Jammer, James Graham was a year older than me, Scott Moore, Steve Tyrer, people like Paul Clough,
Steve Bannister.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a lot of lads that went on and did really well from that era. But I was also, I mean, Daniel Anderson come in and brought me into the first team as an 18-year-old kid, and I couldn't have had a better coach at that point. For someone that develops young lads well, he developed everyone, didn't he? He was a fantastic coach, Daniel, and but being in that squad as well, 2006 squad, that was my first year when they won the treble. It was something else, that squad, learning off Longy, Leon, Scully, Kieran, people like that. It's just
Characters,
I was fortunate. Yeah, I was fortunate, to be around that squad.
Did you have any sort of imposter syndrome at all, given that you hadn't sort of had 15 years of doing it in the academy?
Yeah, I mean, I probably, having said that, playing, taking to the game late, I didn't really think much at that point. I was just going out and playing, and that probably helped me a little bit as well. The football probably helped me, obviously, with my kicking game. I made a career out of my kicking game, I think, and I had other little things I could do, but I suppose, the kicking game really, really made my career. Like managing it aside, I think I was good at controlling, being the general in the side and getting the boys around the park.
But that takes some doing, doesn't it? To be, as Mark said, playing in that half-back position, being so vocal, controlling a game as a youngster with those names that you mentioned around you, getting Longy in position and telling people what to do. That takes something.
Yeah, and that's what they wanted, though. I mean, I remember going in making my debut. That's what Kieran said to me. He wants me to come in and do that and get people around. And although it's hard to do because you're a young kid and you've got respect for them players, they want you to, as an halfback, they want you to boss them around. So I felt at ease doing that, and I was confident in doing that because I knew, obviously, that when I finished my career, I was a lot better at it. But I think at the start of my career, it come quite natural to me anyway, that kind of stuff. Obviously kicking as well, and so that was my game in a nutshell. And if I had a six around me that could play a little bit as well, I'd put him in the right positions, and that was my job.
What are your highlights when you think back from that first Saints spell, starting in 2006 and making that debut?
I think just being around them squads was great for me. Obviously, you always remember your debut at Huddersfield away. We won 18-16, and I had a good debut. Got a 40-20, played decent enough, for a debut, and so I mean, great time just coming through at that period of time. You'll know as well, the culture was. You played hard, you went out and you partied hard as well, and that's what
I think it's
what it was.
In that era more so than any other team as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I when I think back now, I don't know how we got away with that.
When you think back now, it was brilliant.
It was unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, we'd play on a Friday night, we'd win, and then we'd be out Friday night, Saturday, Sunday club. And then we train on a Monday, and a few would go for a pint on a Monday night. Like, it was ridiculous because we was off on a Tuesday. But the players were that good, they got away with it. Like,
See, I always ask the nerd question, this, Mark, and we've done this before. And just given that, had you not done that, and I get how fun that would have been, I would have loved to have been there. But had you not done that and gone down the sort of Cristiano Ronaldo school of conditioning, whatever, how much better would that Saints team have been? And they were exceptional. Do you know what I mean?
But I think the beauty of those players was their personality. They were like a team of Galacticos on the field, but their personality, they you couldn't do one without the other. They came as a package. The package was they were brilliant on the field. They were mavericks all over the shop, but off the field they had issues, and not issues, but they burned the candle at both ends.
Did that gel you though together? Did that bond you more than anything?
Definitely, yeah. And we had some great times on the pitch. Obviously, off it, we had unbelievable times as well, and. Like, I don't think we was the only team doing that at that point. I think the culture around rugby league at that point was
so successful with it.
Yeah,
I don't think the other successful teams at that point were as loose, but it just worked for them. And I think they trained incredibly hard as well. I'd imagine. I know. When I played at Saints, Wello used to always go and meet his uncles and his cousins and all his family at the Greenhalls, like a Liberal club in St Helens on a Sunday. He'd sometimes have 3 pints, sometimes he'd have 8 or 9, and he'd just enjoy time with his family and watch Super Sunday. But every Monday morning, he'd be the first player in training on a running machine, sweating it all out.
But Wilco was like that, wasn't he? Like, he's said that loads when used to be here with us. He's former co-host of the podcast. He's walked out.
Former colleague,
Matty. Yeah, but he has that sort of, and you've worked with him, that sadistic side of like playing hard, partying hard, but then getting back in the next day and being on the treadmill, and then, you know, like when we went to your stag do, Mark, in New York, and then he decided to run a marathon after the day after.
New York marathon 3
Weird.
days
You know, that's there's a lot of weirdos like that, weren't there? They like to punish themselves.
But then that's it. That's what I was like. I mean, I was exactly the same. We went out on Sunday night. On Monday, I made sure I was at the front of fitness. Like, and that's how I made it okay. You know, and myself, it's all right because I'm at the front of fitness. I can do it next week. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's right. Like,
well, I was going to ask
when
you two, because
now,
you two both sort of, you finished in 21. You finished in what, 21 as well?
2020.
2020. So like right up until those, you know, in your twilight years, how different was it then from 06 and Mark for you, sort of 08, 09, whatever?
It was different. Yeah, there was a lot more. Sports science was much more of a priority, and being hydrated and checking your body weight each week, and the conditioners had more of a responsibility to be meticulous on how your body was put together and how you were looking after each other. And I think the off-field socialising was very different. Even, you know, from starting out at Wigan and Saints and then finish off at Salford, like going for a coffee after training, the uptake towards the end of my career was much less. It might be because I became a boring sod, but I think it was the fact that lads didn't want to spend as much time with each other as they used to. So I think it depends on the club you're at, the generation, the type of personality. But I think there's less socialising in general from players, and I think there's more of an emphasis on being at peak performance and physical condition, which is obviously good for the game, but doesn't make as many good memories.
What about you, Matty?
I'd say the same. You know, I think it's just the professionalism now in the game. The young lads that come through, they don't want to. You know, they've got to. They can't be going out all the time drinking. They can't be doing the wrong things because it will catch up with you. Because everyone's in a better, you know, the more professional and
everyone's got a phone with social media. That didn't happen in 2006,
exactly. Yeah,
did it?
yeah. No one was getting the phone out.
Imagine an Instagram around with Sean Long in 2006.
You can't get away with anything now, can you?
Right.
So
The world's gone mad.
But yeah, I guess, you know, I mean, you see 17, 18-year-olds now at school and they're 2 foot bigger than they used to be, aren't they?
Yeah, I think it's a generational thing as well. I don't think young men want to go and sit in a pub and tell stories and have a laugh. They're more bothered about being in the spotlight or making TikTok videos at home, dancing in the living room, you know, drinking Prime and vaping than having a pint of bitter.
Prime, that fascinates me, Prime, doesn't it? Prime.
They'd be a good sponsor for the podcast.
They would be, yeah. What's his name? KSI? Is he the guy?
Yeah.
You got any intros?
One of the Paul brothers, I think Henry or
Is
Robbie
he?
Paul.
We can get one of them, can we? You could
think
find
Robbie Paul, yeah.
Robbie Paul.
Yeah.
is he the third Paul brother?
Or is it Logan Paul?
Robbie Paul. No, his name's not Robbie Hunter Paul.
Robbie Hunter
Don't
Paul.
call him Robbie Paul.
No, say Robbie Hunter Paul.
So Matty, you had a spell then, I'm just thinking, a few loan spells, didn't you? After you made your debut in 2006. Then you went to Salford after a loan spell at Salford. But then, like, things sort of really came alive for you, didn't they, in terms of silverware and going to Wigan? I mean, how controversial was that move? I know you'd had Salford in between, but to go from Saints to Wigan via Salford.
yeah, well, obviously I was at Salford, so it wasn't like the Saints to Wigan, but I think them years helped me as well.
Yeah.
Just brushed over them loan spells, didn't you? Then, Will. But I
do read them out. There's,
I played against you when you were at Widnes, when
Crusaders,
I was at Halifax.
Crusaders. But I lived in Crusade. I lived in
Crusaderland.
I lived in Crusaderland. I lived in
How good would that be?
South Wales for a year, and
Yeah.
like at 20, and that.
Wow.
You
What
know,
year was
with Steve Tyra, that was 2009. So
Yeah.
Crusaders' first
was
year.
your liver even more damaged during that period, I think?
100%. Yeah, it was. We were living on Cardiff Bay. Yeah, it was Brewfield. Yeah.
I
So
made my
Bridgend,
debut
we had a spell in Bridgend, and then
Yeah.
we had a spell in.
Did you play the
Cardiff.
game when they beat Wigan?
No.
They only won like one game all
And it
season,
was against Wigan.
and it was my debut.
Was it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did all right. Everyone else was shit.
Yeah. And then you went to the NRL, Mark, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Yeah. How many appearances there?
20 something.
27. So come on, that move to Wigan. Were you? I mean, it's a massive club and whatever, and you obviously look back now and all that silverware that you picked up there and the people you played with and working with Sean Wayne, etc. But it was a no-brainer. You weren't even thinking about Saints at the time.
No, and Wayne was the big sell on that for me. You know, I remember meeting him a couple of times. You know, it was 2 or 3 meetings with him, and he basically just said he wanted to build a team around me. He made me feel basically the best player in the world, and he wanted to win trophies and build a team around me, and yeah, just a great coach, like someone you want to play for. And my 4.5 years I had at Wigan, I can't. I'm also now at Saints. I'm a Saints lad, but I can't. It was the best time of my life.
You won't meet many more
best rugby.
passionate rugby league men than Sean Wayne, would you?
No, he's
just
great.
oozes out of him how much he loves his players and how much he loves rugby league. And yeah, I can imagine that being
you want to play for the bloke. Yeah,
decision after
he's so passionate, like you say.
He's a salesman, isn't he, as well?
Yeah, he's brilliant. He is. He's brilliant, and just his work ethic, I just found amazing. Like he'd always, he'd be in there at 7 o'clock and he'd be leaving at 5. It's like he put the hours in. He's very detailed in how he thinks the game should be played, and not, just he tells around the game lines, the way who you're running at, and for someone was a prop, and I'm not saying props don't look in details of the game, but he amazed me really. He was like an halfback, the way he thinks about the game, and he was a great coach and someone that you want to play for.
Did he give you any shit about being a Saints lad?
He never actually.
Did he not?
Never. I don't think he realised I was a Saints lad at first. Honestly, because I come from Salford.
Because he used to, when I played with him in the academy, he used to hate Saints. But respect, he had his utmost respect. But it was that rivalry that Saints were the enemy.
Yeah.
I can imagine him again. I thought he might have got stuck
Maybe
into
your Wikipedia wasn't
he
updated
did when he
then.
found out. He did. He used to. I think that's why he got rid of me. But he was like I say, he was a passionate Wiganer, and obviously it was all about Wigan. I remember him saying to me what he wanted one day he'd want a team full of Wigan lads, which he's great, isn't it? Wigan team.
Mike
Having
Rush
that
should
kind
have
of
the
desire.
team of Saints lads, wouldn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it's like.
Yeah, and it's just passionate about your town, isn't it? So you wanted to play for the bloke. He was good.
You had an amazing time there, Matty, though, didn't you? Grand final winner in 2013, 2016, Challenge Cup winner in 2013 as well, which you mentioned, Lance Todd Trophy. What made that Wigan team, that group of lads, so special?
I think just the kind of work ethic. I think if you looked at the team on paper, I don't think it was the best team on paper. But what we had was we had a want, and we had a way of playing, and you can argue that Maguire brought that in a couple of years beforehand, and Wayne carried that on, but he brought his own stamp on it as well. And we just had a desire to play for each other. And there was times in seasons where we'd have a couple of bad games, but we never really strung too many bad games together. We was always really consistent, and throughout them years. And like I said, we weren't the best team on paper, but we all wanted to play for each other, and we wanted to play for Sean Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah, and Mark, you remember, I mean, you would have come up against Matty during those periods as well, against that Wigan team. Another someone else who went from Wigan to Saints.
Yeah.
But didn't go back to Saints as well, which we'll get to in a second. He went directly from Wigan back to Saints. So confusing.
I'm lost. They were. I think the word I'd use for Wigan during that period were ruthless. They were just on you for 80 minutes. Every tackle, there'd be intent and meaning behind it, and they just competed so hard. And they had star players in there like Matty. Sean O'Loughlin was a phenomenal player.
He's a slippery little fish, Matty. Though, did you ever get any good clips on him?
Easy,
Yeah?
Loads. And then they just had that ruthless mentality, and then they had star players in Matt Bowen, Sam Tompkins. They just had that sprinkle of stardust that all great teams need. But there was a real good balance, I thought, and you knew you were always going to be in for a tough game, and you knew you'd be leaving the stadium with bruises all over you after you played Wigan. And
that was the best rugby you played in your career, right, Matty? That period?
Yeah, I think the system suited me. The structure. I was a really structured player. I'm not someone that can step 14 people like Johnny Lomax and score a try, or Jack Wellesby. I was really structured in what I did. And
is that down to Wayne?
Yeah, and he liked that way of playing. You like Flashy just said, you had players like Tompkins who can win you a game. But we was really structured, and everyone
knew the role.
Everyone knew the role.
Everyone was given a direct, that's your game plan. You're going to run at him for 30 times. You're going to do 50 tackles, whatever it is, and everyone did it meticulously. Didn't
and we never changed. We never changed. Say we played Salford, we'd always play the same. Salford, Saints, whoever it was, we had our style of play, and that's why we was playing. So everyone kind of like I said, they knew the role, they knew what they was doing, and it kind of worked for us.
So when Wayne finally fucked you off, did you think, I'm going to Saints?
Well, I had 2 more years left at Wigan, and I had a couple of conversations with Kieran, and for me it was a bit of both. It was I think Wayne, at that point I was on obviously good money. They had an opportunity to bring Tommy Luluai back for, I think, for a bit less than what I was on, and he was coming to the back end of his career, and so the club, I think Wigan probably thought, well, he'll do the same job or if not better than Matty on less money, so we can push him on, get a bit of money for him. He's still got 2 years, and also I was kind of, I want to go. I think he had unfinished business left at Saints, and I left as a young kid. I had the chance to maybe go back before I signed for Wigan. I was either going to Saints and I chose Wigan just because of Sean Wayne basically and what he was saying to me. So there was that opportunity. I didn't go back, so I felt like I needed to go back at some point and kind of right the wrongs, if you like, and hopefully be as successful as I was at Wigan. That didn't quite work out, but everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated with this question when you ask any sports person. Did you, and now looking back, having hung your boots up, but still only 36, and you've got plenty of time to reflect even on your playing career, did you achieve everything that you thought you would have, more than you thought you would have? Did you hit that ceiling, or are you one of those that's like, I could have had more? Yeah,
I always wanted more, but I think, starting the game late like I did, the ability I had, I think I overachieved. I do. I think I was at very good clubs. And I'm really grateful for that, to play at some clubs I've played at, Saints, Wigan, obviously the two biggest clubs in the country. So I was fortunate. I played with some great players, but yeah, I always wanted more. I felt like a couple of grand finals got away from us.
Title at Sheffield.
Yeah, and a couple of games we could have been better in that. Yeah, I missed that then.
I was thinking that. He's like going into depth about his Sheffield career.
But yeah, you always want more as a player. Once you've tasted success, you want more of it, don't you? And I was no different.
Mark, I've never asked you that. Did you? Do you think you hit your ceiling? Do you think you overachieved?
I overachieved, yeah.
Yeah.
Or not overachieved, but I reached my potential. I think I squeezed every bit of talent I had in me because I wasn't an athlete. I'm not naturally.
It's a model, weren't you? It's a glorified model.
Yeah, ish. I was never that powerful or athletic, so I think when you're a forward, especially in the modern game, you need to have a bit of punch, and I never really had that. But I think I was a good rugby player. I could defend, and I had a decent ball playing skill. So, and I just trained as hard as I could and worked as hard as I could, and then did.
And then won the grand final at halfback.
Yeah. But
against Matty Smith.
Against Matty Smith. But I think that's all you can do is look in the mirror at the end of your career and did you squander the talent you had? And I always thought that I did everything I could do. I wasn't the best player, but I was the best player I could be, which is important.
So 36 years old, Matty, heading to Wembley with Saints women at the weekend. Did you? I mean, we spoke to Wello, Mark, didn't we? Was he the first guest we had on this season? I think he was. And he always knew he wanted to itch that scratch and be a coach. Was that the same with you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think just being I've always studied the game. Like I've been a halfback. I've always been interested in like kind of the vision stuff, the video stuff. How other teams play, what works, what doesn't work, how I try. So I've always looked into the games and I think it's just a natural progression. I've always, it's the only thing I know, rugby league, and. Yes, I've always wanted to give it a go. There was, I suppose, the back end of my career where I was kind of falling out of love with the game a little bit.
Why was that?
I think just a few things didn't go my way towards the back end. Probably, I was probably to blame for a couple of them. Coming back to Saints, it didn't quite happen for me. I broke my leg in the first game and, didn't deal with that the best. Did my eye socket, a few games back after the break and just didn't handle that situation well. Probably drank a little bit too much, probably made a few mistakes. Struggled at that point. I kind of wanted the Saints thing to go so well, or to achieve things at Saints. When that happened, I found it hard to take.
Never go back, Matty.
Yeah,
never go back.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Mark, we've been back, haven't we, a few times, but never works out well, does it?
Depends on the circumstances. It's just...
There aren't many examples, though, in all
No, there's
seriousness,
not,
of
but-
people going back and it
But
working, is
breaking
there?
your leg and breaking your eye socket are examples of bad luck. And had that not happened, he might have built up great combinations with his team around him, played great rugby, and completely different story. It's one of them you never know, do you?
You never know.
And if it's a passion, it's something you want to do, you've got a soft spot for that club. It could be, the dream come true.
But did you get carried away in the narrative? And because I've asked you and Wilco this over the years, and you kind of poo-pooed it. Poo-pooed, that's very posh, isn't it?
Poo-poo?
Poo-pooed it.
Is that French?
I think it is, yeah. Poo-pooed.
Poo-pooed.
What does it mean? Sort of
Just shit.
belittled me.
Oh,
But how you want that sort of Hollywood ending to a career. Were you thinking that, like, Saints, right, I've done it with Wigan, let me go to Wembley, lift the Challenge Cup with Saints and go to Old Trafford, win a couple of grand finals? Was that in your mind, of sort of that lovely bit of symmetry of closing off your career?
Yeah, in a perfect world, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And it never really worked out for me. It was hard to take at that point, to be fair. And should I have dealt with it in a different way? Probably should have. But I never. And you learn from your mistakes, don't you? And,
how did you deal with it? Was it just, were you angry? Were you, like you touched on boozing a bit, was that like a midweek thing, or was it, talk us through like your mindset when you were kind of going through that stuff?
I think the when I broke my leg, it was kind of, right, I'm back in 9 weeks, work hard, And then once I did the eye socket, it was a bit like, Kieran got sacked, the coach that brought me in. I felt like I let him down a little bit, and even though he can't control obviously getting injured, that was hard for me to take, because obviously I grew up, respecting Kieran. He was one of my heroes growing up, and to get the chance to play with him, and all that kind of stuff, and for him to bring me back, I thought he showed a lot of faith in me. So that was disappointing.
Did a lot of the players feel that they let Kieran down?
Yeah, I think you do as a player. When a coach gets sacked, it's not nice. I'm a coach now.
But such a big name in the town as well.
Yeah.
Wilco was there. I think he said it. Mark, isn't he, over the year? Everyone wanted that to work out.
Yeah.
We even said to Wello for the beginning of the season, like, ooh,
Yeah.
is Kieran the kind of that's the stereotype that he's trying to avoid being, isn't it? Because people want it to work out. The players want it to work out. The fans want it to work out.
Yeah.
The owner wants it to work out for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and it's ruthless, isn't it, when people are saying stuff like they were, a legend like Kieran, and it is, as a player, as the halfback as well, you kind of take it on your shoulders a little bit, and so that it was disappointing. Obviously, Justin come in. Justin was a great bloke. He turned things around, and it didn't quite work out for me. So then that's when I kind of went away, and obviously signed for Catalans, and I think I picked Catalans because of that, because I wanted to win. I still wanted to win. I seen Catalans as that out the clubs that I got offered. I seen them.
Nothing to do with the red wine. Not that. Well,
and that came.
What a coincidence!
That came, and I probably also went Catalans for the wrong reasons as well, to get away, to kind of get away from St Helens and.
It's a fresh start, Catalan, more than any other team in Super League. It's on its own, different people, different country, culture.
Great experience.
Yeah, a lot of lads say that. And I think
Yeah.
probably your position, it was the obvious choice, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, yeah. And it was, like you said, the opportunity to go live in a different country, my kids, which, again, we went, my little lad was 3, my twin girls were not even 1. So it was a difficult time, really, to go, as a young family as well. But, a great experience as well.
Was he there with Luke? 2019?
No, you were
just
there,
missed it.
Mickey Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sam. I signed the same year as Sam Tompkins, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And look at the flying now, aren't they? Yeah. And how much progression they've had over the last sort of 5 or 6 years.
We at Salford, we played Catalan away. And after the game, we said, we'll go for a few beers and we'll see if any of our old teammates and colleagues for the other side fancy him. So Matty Smith said, come and pick us up. So we get this taxi down these back roads and back streets in France to your compound where you lived. Big fenced off house.
Yeah.
He said, I'll just be out in a minute. We sat in that taxi for about 40 minutes waiting for him. Knocks on the window and says, sorry mate, I'm not allowed. Mrs. won't let me. I was like, oh man, we've been here for 45 minutes. Forgot about that.
When you think about the coaches that you've worked with and played under, you mentioned obviously Justin Holbrook there at the end, and I know that wasn't like the pinnacle of your playing career, but you still took a lot from him. And John's talked so much about how he simplifies the game and so on. Sean Wayne, Daniel Anderson, Steve McNamara. What kind of coach do you want to be when you think about those guys, and how much have you taken from them individually?
Yeah, I think you take a little bit from each one. I think you mentioned, some of the coaches there. They're all great coaches in their own right. They're all very different as well. So I think if you can take a little bit from each one that you like and mould it into what you want to be, then that's great. I was really fortunate in my career to having them coaches and some really good assistant coaches as well. Paul Deacon, Yestin Harris, Sean Long, Paul Wellens, obviously he's head coach now. So I've been lucky and but yeah, I think I'm probably take a little bit from each one. I love the way Justin was in terms of his sessions, mini skills stuff, his little skill drills were great. Obviously, Sean Wayne's work ethic, defensively, he was, like we said, ruthless. Just so, yeah, I think you take a little bit from everyone.
Do you have a little black book like Sean?
I have a black book, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
You got it with you?
I've not, no.
He takes his everywhere. He takes his everywhere, though, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever forgotten it somewhere.
What do you put in your book?
Yeah, what's in your book? Names of people you want to get revenge on? And
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. But no, I mean, it's just a little reminders. I think when you think of something, it goes down, and I'm one of them. I'll think of something, and if I don't write it down, I'll forget. So it's it's just jotting things down, really. More so team for that week.
Sean's interesting with it though, isn't he? Because I was fascinated in that black book just because I didn't know what it was, and he kept on kind of writing things down and flicking through it while we were talking to him. But he was listening and he's writing bits down. And he says he takes it everywhere, and even if he meets people that he doesn't even like or some wanker that's pissed him off in the day, like he'll take something from that and he'll put that in his book. Mark, you're turning your nose up at me.
No, I'm just finding it funny that Sean Wayne gets pissed off by random people.
I think he did.
Writes car registrations down.
Yeah.
Road rage.
But are you a sponge like Sean is in terms of like learning from any opportunity? Did you have to be like that as a coach?
I think you have to take everything in, especially early on in your coaching career. I think you've got to take a little bit from it. I remember speaking to Wayne at the Magic weekend, and when I was at Wigan, he's always said to me, when you start coaching, Matt, meet different coaches. Like, go spend a day at Sale Sharks or come and spend a day with us. Like, get around people and learn as much as you can, because you never stop learning, kind of thing. And he was great when he was, like I say, his work ethic was always high. And
can you still lean on his shoulder even though you went back to Saints?
I've spoken to him a couple of times.
Yeah.
I've still yet to take him up on that coffee that he said I could have. But I will do at some
just
point.
the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Grindsmith in Manchester.
No, Pocket of Black. You could.
Pocket.
Yeah. Sean Wayne was in, actually.
Was he?
Yeah, he was, yeah, with his family.
You've had a few stars in there, isn't it? Erling Haaland's been drinking in there, hasn't he? Not alcohol, coffee.
No, don't tell people that.
Yeah. So you still haven't answered my question, Matty, because you talked about what they have all got and what you've taken from them. But what does Matty Smith look like or want to look like as a coach?
I just think having that kind of honesty. I think, I've always thought throughout my playing career, if a coach was honest with me, even if I didn't like it, then I can take it, because, at least he's been honest. So I think just always having that honest, feedback with my players, just kind of that work ethic. Yeah, just I think as a head coach, you need to concentrate on the defence side of things, and that's what I tend to do with the girls, like concentrate on the defence and then the attack flows off the back of that. But just being honest with the group of players as much as you can, and that work ethic. Yeah, just work hard and keep learning. That's where I'm at the minute.
Where was your mindset then when that women's job came up at St Helens, and in terms of what you could get out of it and what you could offer the women?
Yeah, I think when it first got talked about, with Mike Rush, it was kind of out of the blue. I didn't really expect it. I thought I was going to just go into the academy, just deliver sessions for the academy and just be a coach, basically. But when he come up with the head coaching role, it was one that I couldn't really pass up. I think, it's a great opportunity for me. My first kind of role to be a head coach. I'll learn so much, from that experience. So yeah, when he come to me with that, it was a no-brainer really to do it.
And what are the challenges? Because we were talking before, you've only got them really Tuesday, Thursday, and match day Sunday.
Yeah.
Non-professional. That's obviously in the wheels in motion of changing, and all the women, I imagine 100% of them want that to change quickly and quicker than it is doing. But is that a real challenge for a coach to have such little time with them?
Yeah, it's the probably biggest challenge, because I think you do get limited time with them, and there's a lot to get through. You know, I like to do the video stuff with them, because I think when you can see it, you know, when you can do reviews of games, I think when you can break things down, I think they learn from that. The girls, it's not all about getting on the training pitch and, you know, going through moves or going through you know, the defensive systems and all that. It's about actually doing a bit of teach stuff as well. So, but it's hard. It's hard to do, because you only get Tuesday, Thursday. You know, if you had more time with them, it'd be a lot easier. But, you know, there is challenges with it. I think the biggest challenge for the girls is what they do away from here. You know, so we've talked about that a lot this year, and, you know, you can control what they do when they're here, but, you know, the diet away from here, the extra training sessions they do, there's got to be a plan in place. And
surely that was the same with you boys back in 06 and 07 and 08.
Yeah.
They could only control they couldn't control you on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, could they, after you'd played?
No. I remember him, he used to bring us in on a Sunday night, like when he got wind of the Sunday club.
Yeah.
Daniel Hansen.
Did Daniel, yeah.
He started bringing us in on a Sunday evening doing a session, but I think what he forgot then was we were all together.
Yeah.
So there was even more going to the pub after training. Do you know what I mean? So it didn't really work out. But yeah, I think that period of time when you're full time, you're kind of in every day.
Yeah.
So you're working hard, you're training hard.
And I guess that's a
for
huge
the girls,
challenge. Yeah, because I mean, give us an example of some of the other careers. I mean, we spoke to Danica Prim about this, didn't we, years ago? Some of them are delivering, you know, newspapers in the morning. So they've all got other jobs, right? They need other jobs to make a living.
And that's the hard part, isn't it? I mean, I experienced a little bit of that back end of my career, where I worked in the day part-time, and then, you know, I went training on the night, and it was hard. And I was still getting paid for this.
Yeah.
Still getting paid all right money. These girls don't get paid. But
some of them must be knackered when they turn up for training, because they've done a full-time job in the office.
And the moods change, you know, from that. If they've had a bad day at work, you know, the emotions can be high at times. And you know, so the respect I've got for the girls is massive, because they do that, you know, they deal with a lot of stuff, they work hard, and they come and train, and they train really hard as well. So, and they don't get paid. They get looked after in certain areas, and the game's obviously getting better, you know, but it's small steps in it, and you know, you just got to take what comes at the minute with the girls' game. But, you know, from they don't get paid, and
you've got some clubs who are starting to pay the women, haven't you? That's obviously going to, you'd hope, fast track everyone onto a level playing field, right?
Yeah, but it's got to be right there, hasn't it? I think it's got to be done in the right way. I don't know the situations with York and Leeds and who's getting what, and if they're getting 50 quid or 100 quid or whatever it is. And I think it's got to be done in the right way for the game to.
It's got to be sustainable, hasn't it?
Yeah. And you know, at the end of the day, the sport's got to grow on it, and we've got to get more people watching it. We've got to get more people in the stadiums.
Have you already seen that growth, though, even in that short space of time in charge, of the interest, of the profile, of everything going in the right direction? Because it's very cliched, isn't it, for us to sit here and go, well, you know, there's more people watching. The curve is going up, but is it? And do you trust that to happen?
I mean, we've hit, you know, 1,000 fans, 900,000 fans, you know, a couple of times this year already, and you know, so there is more people coming watching. I mean, you look around the stadium now, and it's not just Wellesby number 1 on the back. You've got Cunningham number 13. So young girls.
That's brilliant, though.
So it is. I mean, it is getting better, isn't it? And you know, but the money's got to keep coming in. The revenue's got to come in for then the girls to financially benefit from that.
And other sports can inspire that, can't it, as well? I mean, you look at what England's women have done with the Euros, and what they're doing right now as we record this with the Women's World Cup, and the netballers, and you know, like you see, don't you? You see young girls with names on back of shirts, and that's what you want, like you say, and with Saints, with Wigan, with Leeds.
And at the weekend, you know, the Challenge Cup final women's game being at Wembley, the amount of people that are going to be watching that on telly, and you know, it's great for the girls' game, and it's great for the women's game.
Is there a crossover you notice when you in Saints? Like, can you with your experience, and obviously with you working with the men, can you then tap into that for the women's game? Do they use the same technologies and training facilities and nutritionists and so on, and physios, or are they quite separate still?
Yeah, well, to get all the nutrition stuff, we've got our own S&C. We've got 2 assistant coaches, a team manager, obviously head coach. We've got media staff. So and that's for the women. So the women get, you know, probably not as much as the men, but they do get looked after in that respect. And we use the same training facilities. You know, we get to play on the stadium. Not every women's team does that. We do. They're looking after them. You know, medically they're looking after them. We eat at the stadium. Now, you know, I know these are small things or seem to be small things, but from where the game was to where it is now, it is developing and it's getting better.
Double headers have to be the answer, though, don't they? In terms of even going forward, if, you know, stick the women on before or after or whatever, but on that match day.
Yeah, I think doubleheaders have always been, you know, a great way of exposing new talent. It was used to be the academy or reserves would play before the first team. I remember, you know, playing at Headingley before as a curtain raiser before the first team. There was like 5,000 or 6,000 in early to watch the academy before the first team. And I think whether it's women's game, reserves, academy, I think it's great. But especially with the women's game, it will bring in new fans, I think, and some new superstars on the walls of young women and young men, of the likes of Cunningham and Emily Rudge and all these guys, is the way that, you know, you promote the game as much as possible.
We've seen one of your team talks. Sky put it out, didn't they? Was that a calm one? That was. I mean, you were cruising in that game, weren't you?
You're aware the camera's in now.
Yeah, I could tell you knew.
5 cameras in now.
For those who haven't seen it, you went full sort of Marcelo Bielsa. You had a blue ice cool box.
Going all right, are we, guys? Going all right.
Yeah.
We're going good.
Yeah. Oh, it was probably tame. I'm not someone that shouts and balls. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Have you done any?
When it's needed, I will. But I think what I'm blessed with at this club at the minute with the girls is we've been playing some really good rugby, and I've been you know, really happy with how they've gone this year. There's obviously a few occasions where we could have been better.
Team talks are easy when you're winning, right?
Oh, of course, yeah. And I think it's more the kind of one-on-ones the girls want. You know, the feedback after games. What I've tried to give them, and you know, look like little video sessions or whatever one-on-one. I think that's important. But yeah, I'm not really a coach that will shout and ball. I think you've got to, especially with the girls. I think they respect the kind of calming influence and you know, how are we going to solve it instead of just shouting them. I don't think they respond well to that. So, but I think we've been great. Hopefully, I won't have to do it this week.
You've got some good leaders in that dressing room, haven't you?
Yeah, fantastic, mate. Yeah, and you know the leadership group has been great for me this year. You know, in particular, you know, Jodie Cunningham, obviously, fantastic player. You know what she's done in the game. She's a great leader and says the right things at the right times. And so I'm fortunate. Yeah, I know what, you know, the group I've got around me are great, and they help me out all the time as well.
How so much of a buzz has there been as the rounds have ticked by to get to Wembley, and how much excitement in that group, and how much do you have to use your experience to make sure that this week they do everything as normal? They don't do anything different, they don't change anything, or am I putting words into your mouth there?
Yeah.
You know, you often hear, don't you, when people get to a final, they think, in hindsight, why did we do that? You know, keep things simple. And
I think it is important to keep things the same. You know, in terms of your preparation, how training will run this week. It's got to be done exactly the same. Obviously, we've got to stay over. You know, we're not used to doing that, so we stay over on the Friday night, which will be a little bit different for the girls. But again, it's about staying calm. You know, and
so they won't be up
right
in Soho or Leicester Square.
No. They'll be in bed
nice
and early. Obviously, we're up early on the Saturday morning, so. But they know that, like, you know, these girls are smart. They're really excited about the game. They'll do everything right, I'm sure. You know, on the Friday to prepare right on the Saturday.
And you've had some amazing moments in the build-up to it. I mean, Faye Gaskin's winning drop goal against York in the semi-final. What were the emotions during that?
Yeah, I even got carried away, didn't I, on the celebrations. But it's just a great moment. I think, you know, big players, you know, come up with big players in games, and you know, Faye did that on that occasion. But not only, I mean, everyone looks at that drop goal, and I'm not taking anything away from Faye. It was an unbelievable moment we needed at that point. But there was moments in that game that the reasons why we won is because of, you know, the charge down, the kick charge down, what TJ did, and the chase back. I don't know if you remember it for their first try when Renov, you know, got that interception. If she hadn't chased back and made the tackle where she made, Tara Stanley would have scored on the sticks and got the kick for the 2 points, where she chased back and she had to kick a bit further out and she missed it, if you remember. So, big players in games like that are moments, and we had a few big moments in that game, but Faye comes up with a kick at the end and won and got us to Wembley, which full credit to her for that.
It's a very obvious question to ask, but what would a victory on Saturday against Leeds do for you as a coach in terms of how you could take them to the next level and to that group of women that you've got at Saints?
Yeah, it's massive. I think for me, obviously, it's it'll give the girls loads of confidence, won't it? I think it'll drive us on, for the back end of the year. But yeah, for me personally, I think it's about the girls. I think it's about the group. From my point of view, I'd love to win, obviously, and be the first coach, obviously, to win the Challenge Cup at Wembley would be great. But I'm more wanting it for the girls, for that group. I think they deserve it. Over this last kind of couple of years, they've been outstanding, and I'm just glad that they get to walk out there at Wembley. But you want to win, you don't want to lose. Obviously, it's no place for losers, Wembley. So yeah, hopefully we can get that win. Are
you going full tracksuit? Are you going suit? Are you?
That's a good question, though. Yeah.
I'm going to do a bit of both. I'm going to somewhere in between. So a bit of both. Somewhere in between, I think I'm going to go.
Smart cash.
Probably, yeah.
Chinos.
Probably the chinos with a jumper. I don't really like wearing suits.
Slimming colours, sort of like blacks and navies.
Why would you need to wear slimming colours?
Navy
we all want to look,
jumper,
look our best, don't we?
Navy blue jumper.
I thought you were having a go then.
No, you called him fat earlier.
I didn't.
He did. He did.
Not on camera, I don't think.
Behind me back.
On your career, because obviously, it's all we can sit there in a press conference and say, yeah, it's about the girls, it's about the. What this would do for you as well, because it's a case of your coaching career at 36 and where you want to go. I take it the kind of guy you are and the player that you were as well. You want your coaching career to go right to the top and being looked at by NRL clubs and managing Saints as the main guy, right? Eventually.
Yeah.
Or maybe even when Weller gets sacked in a few months or something.
Yeah, I won't do that.
Oh, what a shit house.
Yeah, I mean, I want to win. That's how I played the game. I wanted to win every game, and that's how you coach. That's what's in me. But I just want to improve as a coach. I want to keep building and keep improving. But I know that I'm in a good place to do that. I'm at the best club in the world for me. I'm learning off the best people. I've got Mike Rush around me. I've got Paul Wellens. Like I've mentioned, Lauren Fresnew, Ian Talbot. I've got good people around me. Good players around me.
Those lieutenants are so important, though, aren't they? It's like sort of Ryder Cup captains, isn't it? You can kind of. Yeah. We talked, didn't we, before we started today, that Wello initially just had Lauren and who?
Ian Talbot.
And Ian, and whereas under Kieran, he had kind of all the lads were back, weren't they? Like, do you think that it's a balance of somewhere in between those two? Like, you need those voices, yeah. You need different voices, do you, in a coaching setup?
Yeah, I think so. The more voices you have, you can. I mean, for Paul, he can take on what he wants to take on, and he can ignore what he wants to ignore. That we're there to probably just to support him and give our opinion, but he makes the final decision. So I suppose the more people helping him, the better. And I know I look at my assistant coaches for advice. I go to Jodie. I run things past her, being a senior player. I think you've got to do that. That's how you. Because sometimes, you don't have all the answers. As a coach, I know that, and I'm still learning. You don't have all the answers, and sometimes you've got to, go to other people for advice.
I think you need complementary voices as well. You need players from different backgrounds or different positions or different skill sets. You might need a technical assistant coach. You might need one that's better at defence rather than attack, or an emotional guy, or someone who gets on with the players and there's a good link between the head coach and the playing group. But I think the other thing is, I've seen this a little bit during my career, sometimes you have yes men who just tell the coach what they want to hear because they don't want to get in trouble or they don't want any conflict. But I think raising questions and questioning a coach's decision along at the right time in the right arena is really important as well. I think you wouldn't put Wello on show and say he's wrong in front of a group, but behind closed doors you might say maybe do it a bit different or suggest a different idea. And I think as a young coach and a new coach, it's key that you've got some extra ideas that that people are willing to kind of question and suggest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I like to think that's why he's kept me around as well. And I probably look at the game similar to Paul in so many ways. But yeah, having said that, we have got a great balance within that coaching group. Lauren has got a hell of a lot of experience. He's coached with some great coaches as well, Trent Robinson, people like that. Ian Talbot's been in the kind of development system for, well, he was there when I was a young kid coming through, so he's been around as well, and he's got loads of experience. And I think like you said, we were probably each good at different things. And I think that's you've got to have a balance around your coaching staff with that. And then Paul's Paul. He's come so far in such a short time, and doing some great things. So, just great. Yeah, great to work with them three blokes.
You've got so much time ahead of you, haven't you? If you think of your coaching career at 36, you're looking at 30 years if you want it, right? And that's almost 10 years on top of what you had as a playing career. But momentum's so important, isn't it? In different sports, you think, with coaches, because you could be out of favour, and suddenly if it goes wrong at one club, or even as an assistant or something, it's about progression every year. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, and taking your time with it, and that's what I said I wanted to do. The start of the year, I probably don't see. I know I'm a head coach of the girls, but in terms of my kind of progression, if I go into the men's game, is I don't see myself being a head coach for the next 10, 15 or so years, because I think
that long
I have got a lot to learn. Yeah, and I think, like you said, if I want to coach for 30, 40 years, I think you have got to take your time with it, and you've got to learn from a few different people. You've got to go away, you've got to go to spend time at other clubs, Sale Sharks, being around. I obviously want to stay at St Helens, but I think you've got to spend time with other
because you could jump in, and if it goes tits up, whatever, that can be damaging, right? If you go in too early and you're not ready.
And it's happened, hasn't it? It's happened with coaches before. I think the tempting thing is obviously the money, and from an assistant coach to a head coach, you're on probably double what you'd be on, and that's, if you get offered that, then that's the temptation of money, isn't it? But from where I sit at this moment in time, I see it as a I want to be coaching till as long as I can. I don't want it to be a short thing. I want to stay in the game as long as I can.
Yeah. NRL, would that tempt you one day?
Of course, yeah. I'd never say never. I think I've got to be good for that to happen, but I intend to keep progressing and keep working towards things. But yeah, I've always, it kind of passed me by as a player, the kind of opportunity to go to the NRL. But as a coach, I see what Lee Braze is doing and people like that now, and it's definitely something that I would look to do maybe in the future.
Mark, have you ever thought about being an assistant, a lieutenant, perhaps with Sam Burgess, who's just this very second, Mark, been confirmed?
Was he?
For next year as Warrington's new coach?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a surprise to you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why are you smiling?
No, I didn't know that.
No,
That's
didn't
great.
know. Complete news to you, yeah.
Complete news.
Yeah, you're a good friend of Sam's. You could maybe be on the coaching setup there.
I don't think he'd
going
want,
head to head with the likes of Matty Smith.
I think he'd want someone experienced or someone who's been coaching a while, because he's quite new to the coaching thing. He's done it at South Sydney for a couple of years. He's worked under Wayne Bennett and some amazing guys. I think he'll be brilliant, but I think he probably needs some experience.
Do you think he will be brilliant, in all seriousness?
I do, yeah.
Yeah? He's got all the attributes, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's an unbelievable leader. I think he'll walk into that dressing room and get respect and get the players to play for him. I think the way Warrington started this season, they were 8 from 9, so they've obviously got something there, but I think they just need somebody that they're prepared to run through brick walls for. And I think it sounds like Darryl Powell lost the dressing room in the end. I think someone like Sam could really galvanise that group of players and get them to work for him. And yeah, good luck to him.
Does that make them more fearsome, Matty, you think, Warrington next year with someone like him, Sam Burgess?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they'd have gone down the route of someone a bit more experienced in terms of
they wanted
a head
Holbrook,
coach.
and then that didn't happen. I think that was the obvious choice, and I get the impression there weren't that many candidates about. And
his family were like, "I'm not living in Warrington," right?
I think if they said
just
they
been on
want
the
to come
Gold
back
Coast,
to England,
let's go to Sydney.
But yeah, I can see where they're coming from. Can't you?
But it fits into the conversation because we literally just that's just flashed up now as we're doing this. But it fits into the chat where I mean, how old's Sam? 36, 35, 34?
No, he's younger than me. He's 34.
34. So he's 2 years younger than you, Matty, and he's gone in taking it all on heads on. Whereas you're like you've said 10, 15 years your weight.
Yeah, it's a big job, isn't it? The Warrington job at the minute. To get that team around, and there's no doubt Sam's. Like
well, you would have played at England with him, wouldn't you?
See, I've not, but I've heard leader of men. But a great captain. Obviously says the right things. Like I've heard so many good things. I know Sam, but I've never actually played with him, so I can't say what it was like to play with him. But I've heard you hear so many good things about how he. His leadership and all that kind of stuff. So he's obviously got that. I just thought, Warrington maybe had gone down the route of someone a bit more experienced at this point. But you can definitely get something out of him. He's obviously got a lot of respect in the game. He'll get a lot of respect off the Warrington players, and no doubt because of what he's done in the game.
Does that sum up his personality, though, Mark? You know him really well. That he's like, right, bring it on. 34 years old.
Yeah, it's completely his personality.
Yeah.
And he'll work as hard as anybody, and he'll be as hungry as anybody. Will it work or not? I don't know, but he can't have done as bad as the last. They've not been in a final for 4 years, have they? So
yeah. Do you think he'll come in with that half Australian accent that when he's been on the podcast?
It's weird, isn't it?
Change that.
If I was in the dressing room, I'd probably be sniggering when he's laughing.
Maybe some elocution lessons before. Maybe that's why he's waiting until the new year.
Yeah. He needs a bit of help with his voice.
Yeah. So there we go. Look, what a weekend for you, Matty, to look forward to. All the best. Should we finish, Mark, with some predictions?
Yeah.
Should we put you on the spot?
Come on, let's go.
Let's put you both on the spot, and we'll get Matty to predict his own game as well. I'm sure you've done your research on this, Mark. The 1895 Cup final between Batley and Halifax.
I'm going for my old team, the Halifax Panthers.
Can you give us a score?
They've got a really good back row. Ryan Lannon, who plays for them. I think 26-12.
26-12. Mystic, Matty,
Bulldogs.
would you like to have a go at that one? Batley against Halifax?
I'll go against that. I've not watched too much of the Championship this year, but I think Batley will be difficult to beat. I think they're well coached with Lingard, and they're always
Jesse Lingard.
That's where he went. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he
left Forest, didn't he?
Left That's Craig Lingard. I was joking.
Yeah. So I think Batley will just get that. Yeah, maybe 20 points to 16.
20 points to 16 for Smith. The men's Challenge Cup final, Mark, between the great Derek Beaumont, who we want on the podcast.
Well, is Derek playing?
If you are listening, Derek
Beaumont against
please come on the podcast.
Neil Hudgell.
I believe Derek has been asked to come on the podcast, but has yet.
It'd be great.
But I wonder if now John's gone, because there was a feud, wasn't there, between them?
He probably thought he'd be having fisticuffs with John.
Matty, John called out Derek Beaumont. It was about 2 years ago.
I don't think he did call him out.
I think he did, and there was going to be a charity boxing match. And anyway, now they're best friends. But Lee Leopards against Hull KR. Matty, what are we going for there?
I'm going to go Lee, I think, with that one. I think they'll just get that. Again, close game. I don't think there'll be much in it.
Scouting for girls playing, Mark,
but
before?
I think the way Lee are playing.
I'm not sure.
I think the way Lee are playing, I think they'll just get that.
Yeah, Lee win. Mark, you?
I think the Lee Leopards as well. Yeah, they've got a lot of momentum. They had a good win against Leeds. Yeah, they've got a bit more strike for me than Rovers.
And now to the big one, Mark. The big one. You know what we're going to finish with here? The Women's Challenge Cup final. What time does the Women's Challenge Cup final kick off, Matty?
It's 10 to 12.
10 to 12. You didn't know that, Mark, did you? 10 to 12.
10 to 12.
Saints. No, it's not. Yeah, Saints. Is it Leeds Saints or Saints Leeds? Because they kind of, from the press conference. They do it like boxing. It's Chris Eubank Jr. against Liam Smith, or is it Smith? Anyway. Who's going to win that one, Mark? Oh, let me guess what you're going to say.
I think it's Leeds Saints, to be fair.
Is it Leeds Saints?
We're in the away dressing room, I think.
Mark just...
No, I don't think
Leeds.
I think Saints have got too much experience. It was a great win in the semi, so I'm going to go Saints.
Yeah. Bye. Come on, give me a score.
7 points.
But they'll win by 7.
Can
we ask Matty, or is that unfair? Let's just do it anyway.
Well,
obviously, I'm going to play Saints. I think I've got a lot of confidence in these girls, and I think they'll turn it on Saturday. It'll be a close game. Every time we play Leeds, it's always a battle. So, we'll expect the best of them, but hopefully they're going to get the best of us. So, yeah, I think we'll get them on Saturday.
It's a great Foo Fighters song as well. Best of us, best of you.
Even the best. We can get Wayne Rooney to do like a half-time team talk. Wembley.
Dave Grohl.
Wembley as well. Rooney, Wembley. It's all. He's been there. He's done it. This is what you can tell. No, but he's a Leeds fan, isn't he?
Rhinos.
He's a Leeds fan.
He's around.
Rooney going up against his
Do you
old
think
strike partner at Wembley.
Do you think he's listening? Probably
I
listening.
think he could, yeah.
Hi, Wayne,
Yeah.
if you're in Washington.
You've been on. I mean, you sort of when the mics aren't on, Mark. You give the sort of like chat who you're out with, Russell Crowe, Wayne Rooney, all these people. When we're on, you pretend not to know them.
I don't know him. I've met him a couple of times.
Oh, there we go. That's more than
He
Matty. That's more than
He
Matty
wouldn't remember
met him.
me, but
No,
I've met him.
not many people do.
No,
Good to look at, but
I'm quite forgetful.
yeah, not that interesting when you
Forgettable.
get going. Matty, thank you so much, mate, for coming in. All the best on Saturday. And do you think we'll see him in the NRL one day, Mark? Do you think we'll see? Which year will we see Matty Smith at the front of that Saints dugout or back up in the stands with his headphones on?
I think he's got
shouting
all
down
the
at people?
potential to be a head coach, but it's up to if 10, 15 years is a long time, mate. I won't be waiting that
He's put
long.
VAT on that, hasn't he? He'll be
Yeah.
shouting down. Imagine him shouting down at John Wilkin with a set of headphones on, like, "Well, get the water on, you fucking idiot!"
Yeah, that'd be. I'd love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Please do that.
yeah. There we go.
Excellent.
Matty, thank you so much.
Thanks so
Mark,
much. Thank
well
Will.
done.
Thanks so much.
Do you think I
Matty,
did a better
thanks so
job?
much. This has been.
Why don't you
out
wrap
of-
it up, Mark, as the main host?
It's been a great episode. Lots of great input. Please rate us and give us some reviews on Apple or wherever you get your podcast. This has been Out of Your League. Thank you very much.
Well done, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you.